So the last video on the A plus Core 1 exam, I focused more on the study and the prep work leading up in the days leading up to it. And kind of like some of the test stuff that was covered in the test when I actually did it. And when I initially thought about it, I don't have bullet points to remind me what to cover, but it ended up being about 10-ish minutes. So this time, instead of, I could merge it in, but why not make a separate one about the day of stuff that I did, kind of the prep that I did the day of before taking the exam. So when I scheduled the exam, it was kind of in the afternoon. So I had time to where I could show up to school and basically either A, chill out, or B, kind of like put something in my ear that would remind me of the stuff. And that's basically what I did first, is kind of sit there and pop Professor Messer's February study group, which I had missed the night before somehow because I was doing other stuff, and basically popped that in my ear. The only thing that I really have a problem with Professor Messer's thing is he spends like 2 hours and 45 minutes. I mean, he does have some technical issues with streaming for this one, but for about half to two-thirds of it, he seemed to be promoting his own stuff. But that may be because I was like half paying attention, because I was also playing PC Building Simulator during that time period. So my biggest tip for like the day of stuff is basically relax or do something to help you relax, to kind of like clear your mind and not focus on it. Because if you have a problem with anxiety, then you want to kind of get your mind off of it so that you can focus and do your best once you actually sit down to do it. So, and I mean, there was another part where I kind of got up and like went to one of the other classrooms and just kind of chilled for the couple hours before actually taking the test or checking in to take the test. So, and some of that can, and also making sure that like things were properly set up with one of the other teachers so that I could actually check in and do the thing. So kind of get help where you need it on that day, kind of make sure that everything's set up so that you don't have to stress about it like at the last minute, to make sure that all the proper tests are done. If you're doing an online proctored one, that you have the test, whatever computer you're testing on, set up and ready to go and tested and ready, because you want to eliminate the tech issues before you actually check in somewhat. So make sure that those are done so that you're not stressing about that at the last minute. And then kind of chill out and relax. Maybe have something like that will kind of get your mind into that gear again to do it. And an option, depending on your situation, is to chill out and play games that will also help you like get in that mindset, because there's a mindset to going through the exam that you do need to have. I kind of talked a little bit about the mindset when actually doing the test, and that I had figured out in my prep time in the days leading up to it. So you have to keep that in mind and remember the troubleshooting and not forgetting things. Like even the day of, there were things when doing PC Building Simulator that I had forgotten, like the thermal paste, that it's like, oh, okay. And there are some questions that I've seen in some of the practice test pools that talk about some of those things. So if you are doing something that isn't stressful, that will help you prepare what in those hours leading up to it, then that can help you be more successful at actually passing it. So I think that's most everything. Because really the day of is kind of the time that you take, and after that, you're basically done with it, so you don't have to stress about it anymore. One thing to keep in mind is to remember to pace yourself. When I was doing the test, I had gotten this from someone else, is you flag the performance-based questions and skip those and save them for last. Because then you go through all the multiple choice questions, and those are a lot easier to get through quicker than sometimes the performance-based questions. So you get through those multiple choice questions and you have like an hour, depending on how fast you go through those other questions and how many there are, to work on the performance-based questions instead of stressing over the performance-based questions first and then stressing to hurry and rush through the rest of the questions otherwise. So keeping that in mind, that is a technique that I think was really actually helpful, because depending on the software that's used, I think for the most part it's going to be the same, but you go through a question review to go look at the questions that you didn't answer and all the questions that you did answer. If you want to go back to a question and maybe review that one, or if you're not sure about it, you have that option. But then after you're done with the question review, it submits, and then you go through like the post-survey stuff, and then it gives you your score. And then CompTIA is supposed to send you an email, which I have not gotten, with like the packet and score information. So yeah, just keep that in mind. Try and keep it chill on the day of. The hard part is that it's easier to keep it chill during testing when you've got music, but they don't give you that option. Many testing centers don't allow you to have that. So you've got to do that prep work and that chill time before leading up to it in order to keep your stress low. Remember to breathe when you're like actually doing the test. Sometimes a deep breath can kind of like get rid of some of that stress. So yeah, keep that in mind. Breathe heavily as you need to, and keep calm and carry on. If you appreciate the content, the tips, if you're looking at doing the A+ Core 1 and Core 2 exams, then do those things that feed the algorithm, comment, like, whatever, and check out the links in the description. I've got a link to the Discord and different chat places, so yeah.